In this video, I'll be showing you how to install paddle shifters on the Hyundai Santa Fe. This is a 2013 model with the 2.2-liter diesel engine, and this year model did not come with paddle shifters from factory. Only the model years 2016 and up came with the paddle shifters. This is the kit that we will be using. So it comes with the new back cover for the steering wheel, the paddle shifters, its corresponding wiring, and this custom harness that we will be pulling through the steering column down to the shifter. So as you can see, I have already pulled the trim panel for the shift lever. Here it is. So there are some wires that plug onto this trim panel, and it can be easily removed. So this design has no screws. It can be easily removed by prying from this side when you open the armrest cover. And you can remove the shifter by putting the gear into neutral and by pressing on the shift lock button and tugging straight up with force. So it's easier to undo the clips for the trim panel first. Then after that, pull the shifter up. So let's start with the steering wheel. First, you have to make sure that your battery is disconnected. So I have already taken off the negative terminal on my battery, and we have to take off the airbag. So you will need a thin rod with a flat edge and insert it in this hole so you can depress a spring inside the airbag and the steering wheel. So you press on this, and as you can see, as I press on the spring inside, the airbag lifts up and you can pull on it to undo it further and do it on the other side. After depressing the retaining spring that's holding the airbag on, don't suddenly pull on it because there is a corresponding wiring inside the airbag. So you can use a pry tool to lift up that orange piece so you can safely take off that connector, as well as the grounding plug for the horn. So this is now the airbag taken off. This is what you are doing with your flathead or your tool. So when you insert the tool in the steering wheel, you are pressing on these bars, and this is what keeps the airbag inside the steering wheel. Now we take off the steering wheel. So get your 21mm socket and a long breaker bar so you can easily break the nut off. It helps if you have someone to hold the steering wheel in place, but I have already locked the steering wheel, so I can just use that to break the nut. So this is now the nut. Make sure to disconnect and unplug this cable. Now if you have a steering wheel puller, you can use that, or in my case, I can just give the sides a firm whack to loosen the steering wheel and give it some pulls. In this case, the steering wheel is there very loose, as I have already taken it out before. Now when you have taken off the steering wheel, you have access to the clock spring. So you can change that if you have problems such as your steering volume controls not working, or if you have an airbag indicator in your dashboard. That is the most common issue, the clock spring. So let me just take off the steering wheel and we can work on it on the bench. To ensure that you put back your steering wheel in the correct position, get a pen and mark a vertical and a horizontal line, so you can line those up when you return the steering wheel in place. So this is the steering wheel, and these are the new parts that we'll be putting. So this is the new back cover, paddle switches, and the cable that we will be adding to the harness. So we begin by taking the cover off. Use a Phillips screwdriver to take off these 4 screws. In addition to the 4 screws at the back, we have 2 screws up front. Okay, so that's the cover. Now we have to remove the cable that is routed at the top side here. Okay, so I have added the wiring to the existing harness. You can do this by using a pry tool or a sharp object and depress that lock on both sides, so you can take this cover off. So this serves as the lock for the harness. Now we have to reassemble the paddle shifters clicked into place here, and you can plug them in directly. This is the finished product. So we have the paddle, plus paddle, and the minus. Say overall it's a good fit. It's a perfect fit. The next step is the steering column. So we have to fish the wire to the shifter. So first we have to remove this trim piece. It is held on by 3 screws, so 1, 2, and another one right here. So let me just unscrew those. So now you can remove the cover. You just need a little force to undo the clips. After successfully taking off the steering wheel cover, steering column cover, we can get this connector from under the clock spring, and we have to add our 3 wires. So we have to mirror the one that we did in the steering wheel. These are the 3 wires that we will be adding, and we are going to fish the end under the steering column through here out to the transmission. So I have fished the wire through. Now I'm gonna look for the plug for the sports mode selector. Now the armrest is in the way, so I'll have to remove it by undoing those 3 bolts and a screw that holds it here and here. Okay, so I've found the connector that we are going to add into. So that is the harness that we have to add, splice our wires into. Okay, so I have completed the installation. Now, before finishing up and restoring all the trim, let's test the paddle shifters. So let's put it to manual mode. As you can see, I am on first gear, now second gear, and it can downshift as well. Now, just to do everything in reverse, I'm gonna go and take off the negative terminal for the battery, torque down the steering wheel, and then put back this armrest, and of course the shifter console trim.